Hey guys, happy Monday. So I've decided to kind of start this new series. I've been getting a lot of requests to kind of offer some more free education and some online workshops. So I figured one of the best ways to start was to join you guys every Monday around 1 o'clock with my coffee and kind of just go over some weekly tips and topics. So one of the things I'm going to be talking about all December long is going to be Pinterest. As you guys know, Pinterest is a huge part of my business. I really like to be consistent with it. I also offer it a lot to my clients. Pinterest and blogging are hands down my number one requested service that I offer here at Ava and the Bee. So it always makes sense for me to kind of talk about something that I really love to talk about. So I've also had the opportunity to talk a lot about Pinterest at a few Tuesdays Together events. So I think it's a super fitting topic for this month. And my goal with these weekly chats is to keep them, short and consistent. I really like to have super easy to follow topics for you guys because I know how hard it can be sometimes to follow along when someone and they're like not actually getting to the point. So without further ado, I wanted this week to talk about how you can turn a single blog post into 2 weeks of Pinterest content. So as you know, and I have my notes, so if I'm looking, it's because I'm obviously gonna make sure I cover everything perfectly for you guys. So one of the biggest questions I get is how in the world can I come up with a lot of fresh content on Pinterest? And as you know, hey guys, as you guys know, Pinterest is one of those things where you have to constantly add fresh and relevant content. And I know it can seem kind of overwhelming because you're already trying to tackle all these other programs. So one of the easiest ways is to create a lot of pins for each blog post. So if you follow me, you know I do recommend, hi guys, as you guys know, I do recommend trying to blog at least once a week. Now, if you're new or just getting started, twice a month is kind of a good minimum. Every other week, it's gonna allow you to kind of give out that fresh content without me getting quite as overwhelmed as weekly, because as we all know, especially if you're a wedding, one of my wedding pros, during wedding season, you're super overwhelmed. So one of the easiest ways to create content is to do it maybe once a week or every other week. So let's say you're going to do, 2 blogs a month, so every other week. So how can we come up with 2 weeks of content for one blog post? Kind of can seem overwhelming, but it's actually a super easy strategy, and it's I have a little formula. Now I have all of this in more detail on my blog today as well, since I know some people might be more of readers. So if you are more of a reader, feel free to reach out, see my blog post. You can click on the link in the bio and it's going to have a lot of this covered as well. So for every blog post, I recommend you create 2 to 4 headlines and then create 7 graphic pins each for each headline. And I know that might sound like, oh my gosh, you want me to pin a pin every day? And the answer is yes. Pinterest rewards you creating fresh content, and it's actually not considered spammy if you're able to get it out in intervals, which I'll explain a little bit later. So it isn't something that's too spammy, especially if you are coming up with different visual pins as well as different headlines and descriptions. Now, you don't just want to create one pin and share it 15, 20 times. You want to make sure each one's a little bit different. So how we're going to do that is with a few easy steps. So step 1 is to create some captivating headlines. So for every single blog post, you'll want a couple headlines. Now 2 is kind of the minimum I recommend, but if you're kind of able to come up with 2 to 4, that's even better. That way you can have a variety. So what I want to talk about real quick is how to create all of these headlines. So let's say you have a blog post on how to create the best Instagram bio. This is great for a variety of businesses. One of the joys of creating all these pins is you're able to target some different markets that you might have not originally thought would be your target market. So let's say, go back to the topic of writing the best Instagram bio. So how are we going to attract multiple audiences with one key? So what I did was I typed in Instagram, how to write the best bio. So some of the best headlines that I saw were 5 steps to write the best Instagram bio. What's great with that headline is you're showing it's 5 steps, super easy. Most people should be able to, conquer that pretty quickly. And it has your keyword Instagram bio. Headline 2, how to write the perfect Instagram bio. So see how they're both talking about Instagram bio, but they're showing it a little bit differently. Now, some additional headlines could be how to write a killer Instagram bio, or you can insert a word that's, on brand for you. Or even another one, Instagram bios that convert. What I loved about that one when I saw it was it gives you the exact results, a converting Instagram bio. Because as you know, your bio can get a lot of new followers when people first visit. So sometimes it's cool to have kind of that call to action in there. So what I recommend is take your blog and then break it down into, like I said, 2 to 4 headlines. And these are going to be what we use on the actual graphic itself. So when I'm talking about graphics, I'm talking about those tall, skinny little graphics that you see all over Pinterest. Your headline is going to be your text you keep there. Now, remember, you want to keep this short and concise. You don't want a really long headline, because when people are scrolling in the smart feed, they don't have a ton of time to pause and look. So you want to make sure that you do keep it short and sweet. Maybe no more than 5 to 10 words, just something kind of short and sweet. Now, you can have what I consider a subheading. So on the blog, which I have pulled up for my reference, I took this idea and I broke it down into 7 pins for you. And some of them do have a subheading, like how to write the perfect Instagram bio today. You can keep that in mind, that you can add a little subheading to them just to mix it up. And one of the things I do is, if you know me, I really love spreadsheets and data. So I have a spreadsheet for all of the headlines that I use on Pinterest. And that way each month I can track analytics-wise what headlines are working on what pins and what isn't working. And that's another great reason to have multiple headlines for your pins, is you're able to A/B test. And what that means is you're able to see which is performing better, because some headlines might not perform as well. So in this spreadsheet, I make sure that I, monthly kind of track, okay, what headlines for each blog worked, because that way I can kind of see, is there a pattern that's going? Is my audience more attracted to a step-by-step process? Are they more attracted to this language versus that language? So it's kind of a nice way to get multiple results and kind of see what's working for your audience, because a lot of Pinterest is honestly just trying it and seeing if it works. A lot of people be asking me, like, what's the secret to Pinterest? And they're honestly, the biggest thing is just to try new things, which means for the next couple months, I want you to create weeks of content on Pinterest. I want you to take one blog and I want you to break it down into 5 to 10 pins using this strategy, because it will get you results. And how I learned that was I literally just started trying it. So step 1, we covered creating your captivating headlines. So step 2, we're actually going to now make the graphics. So now that we have our headline and we know what is going to be the main piece of content on there, we're going to do our graphics. Now, whenever you're creating a series of graphics, you want to make sure that they are concise and consistent with your brand, because like I said in the beginning, you don't want to have just the same headline or the same 2 headlines on the same exact pin over and over and over again. 1, it's not visually as pretty, and I'm all about the visuals, I'll be honest. And 2, you don't want it to be spammy. You don't want someone to scroll through your Pinterest and being like, okay, we gotta how to write an Instagram bio, like, duh. We want it to really captivate people. So what I recommend is to experiment with different text styles and colors, but still staying within like your actual branding. So like I mentioned, I have this in more detail on today's blog post. So if you click on the link in my bio, click on blog, you're gonna see it. And sorry, my boyfriend is literally texting me and he's in the next room. I don't really know what's going on. He's probably just saying hi and trying to bug me. Anyway, so if you go on it, I actually mapped out how I would personally create it, and I'm looking at it. I know you can't see it, but if you pull it up, you're gonna see that I use consistent colors. So if you follow me, you know that my branding is a lot of blues and pinks and some greens. So for the Creative VA Academy, it's a very specific blue, it's a specific pink. So what I do is I mix and match with that headline multiple different ways to do it. I also like to throw in some images here and there, so some stock photography. I personally use Kate Max stock, shout out, I love them. If you ever see, I use them all the time. But I also like to test, which images work versus solid. So it kind of depends. I've noticed for me personally, the simpler my pin is, the better it gets, as well as when I have an image on it. So I like to play around. And again, it also lets you run kind of an A/B testing with your colors and your text, which might kind of seem weird, but it actually is really awesome. So I know one of the things I noticed was when I started, I used a lot more blues. And then I started testing in the last few weeks. If you actually look at my Pinterest, you're going to see a lot more pink. And the reason is I was like, let's throw in some pink. And honestly, the pink has been working really, really well. It's kind of crazy to see how just even changing up some colors can really make a big difference. So one of the things I started doing was adding more pink, and I've seen that actually my blush pink pins are converting and getting more views and clicks than my like dusty blue. Hi guys! So another reason I encourage you to kind of play with your brand colors is you'll see maybe what people are drawn to, because I had no idea that more people would be drawn to my blush pink. So like I said on the blog, I outlined how I do this. So I actually created 7 pins from the first headline we have, which is 5 steps to writing the best Instagram bio. You'll see on my blog that, like I said, some have subheadings, some have different colors, some have different pictures, but they're all the exact same blog post and they're all the same content. And then next, sorry, I'm just reading my notes. And as you see, all the fonts are gonna be a little bit similar. So one little thing is I do have in my course coming out January 14th, the Pinterest elective, I do have a whole section on how to create visually beautiful pins. I'm going to show you how to do it on a free platform called Canva, which you're probably familiar with. If you're not, I'm going to walk you through how to use it literally step by step by step. And I'm going to walk you through the steps I use to create these pretty pins. So if you're interested in more education on that, don't worry, I'm going to have a lot more in the Pinterest elective. All right, so step 1. We created a captivating headline. Step 2, we made some graphics. And now for step 3, we're gonna create the SEO description. So I want you to take advantage of playing with your descriptions with your SEO keywords. So with each new pin, or for every other pin, maybe use a description max twice. You're gonna change the description. So by having a variety of descriptions on your pins, you're going to be able to test out a variety of keywords and sentence structure. Now, this is another thing that's really key to try to see what works with your audience. Like I said, it can sometimes be a little bit of a guessing game in terms of what captions work best with your audience, but this is why when we're creating 7 pins or 14 pins for a single blog post, we can test those out. So that spreadsheet that I mentioned a minute ago that I do headlines, I also test different SEO keywords. So this helps me kind of see, again, what keywords are performing best for that pin and that topic. That way, if I have another topic coming up, so let's say my first topic was writing the best Instagram bio, I later want to talk about hashtags in an Instagram bio or something on a similar realm, I'm already going to have a good idea of what hashtags or what keywords work in the description. So I also cover SEO in my course, so don't worry, SEO is literally a whole nother beast on its own in writing a great description, but I do have a whole section in the Pinterest elective that's going to cover that for you, including an easy way to break down how to write a great description as well as how to find keywords, because that is super important. So step 4 is, and I get this question is, okay, I have 14 pins, now what? So what you're going to do is you're going to use this tool called Tailwind. Now, again, Tailwind, I have blog posts on it. It's this incredible tool that you use. It's Pinterest approved. And what it's going to do is allow you to schedule your pins out. And what's great with that is you're not going to be super spammy and pin 14 pins at once. We're not going to do that. We're going to use Pinterest, we're going to use Tailwind, and we're going to be super strategic in laying them out over the course of those 2 weeks. So if you're doing 14 pins, that's going to be 1 pin a day. And it's going to allow your feed to not just be spammy, but to also make it really pretty, because you're going to have your regular content and then you're going to have your pins for your blog posts sprinkled in. So it's super easy. I have step-by-step instructions on my blog on how to schedule this in it, but just really quick, you can easily just click and drag it into Tailwind once you're under the publisher. You can select what board. There is one tool I want to quickly touch on here. It's called the interval tool. So let's say you have that amazing blog post you've written, you have your 14 pins, but you also want to pin them to multiple boards. So for example, my Pinterest, I might want to pin it to my business and blogging board as well as my virtual assistant tips board, because it's something that I think both audiences are really going to like. But I don't want it to go up on both boards at the same time, because again, I don't want to be spammy. I want to make sure I spread it out. You're going to use what's called the interval tool. As soon as you schedule a pin in Tailwind, it's going to give you a little clock at the bottom once you click multiple boards, and that's where you're going to be able to access that interval tool. You're going to be able to tell it, what's the amount of days you want in between each board. I typically personally like 2 to 3 days because, again, I don't want to disrupt my feed with too much of that, Pinterest pin that has my, my headlines on it. I tend to like a little bit more variety. I recommend at least 1 day, and this is another great way for you to extend it. So, for example, this blog post that I'm walking you through right now, I made 8 pins for it. Now, these pins are going to be going up over the next few weeks on multiple boards and at intervals. So this one blog is going to go up on Pinterest probably about 15 to 20 times over the next 6 weeks. And again, I like to spread it out because I also know that different audiences might be on at different times. But that just shows how my single blog post is going to cover days and days and days and days of Pinterest activity from one blog post. There's no reason for us to be writing more than we need to. So the last thing I suggest is, now that you have them, is to consider your analytics and how you're going to keep track of the results. I'm kind of a spreadsheet gal, and I like to kind of track what works. I just have a very simple Google Doc. It has columns. It has, what the pin graphic is, what colors were used, what was the headline, what is the SEO. You can also just do it by topic. So maybe for every blog post, you could have, on one column, it's what the blog post is. So our example is the ways to write the best Instagram bio. And then maybe, after a month, you would look at analytics and say, all right, what was the top pin for this post? What were the colors? What was the text font? What was the headline? If you had a subdescription, what it was. And then maybe even which boards it went on or what images were used. So by tracking that, at the end of the month, you can kind of see, okay, so I had 2 to 4, let's say I had 4 blogs go up. What were the top performing pins for every single board? And was there consistency? Were they the same colors? Did they have the same headline? And that way, like I said, you can start tracking these results. Now, that does take a little bit of time. I've been tracking results on Pinterest for headlines and things like that for well over a year. So I have a lot of data now, but it did take me quite a few months to start getting all of that data that I can really use. So there you have it, my ways to turn a single blog post into weeks of content. And just to refresh, step 1, we are going to create captivating headlines. I recommend 2 to 4 to play with on your actual pins. These are going to be items that go right in that pin, just right in that graphic pin right there, typically in the middle or however you have the layout. Step 2, you're going to make the graphics. Like I said, you can do it in Photoshop, InDesign, but I personally really love Canva. It's a free tool that's going to let you create these super, super fast. You're going to be able to knock out 14, 20, however many pins you want to do in a tenth of the time. Step 3, you're going to create your SEO description. So you're actually going to make sure that your description is a little bit different for every single one, because like I said, you're going to want to test different keywords and sentence structure. And then step 4, you're going to schedule it using the Tailwind tool. Again, if you're going to be posting it in multiple boards, you're going to want to use the interval tool. And then step 5, you're going to track your results. And again, encourage you to kind of use Tailwind Analytics and Pinterest Analytics. So I really hope that this walkthrough helped. If you have any questions, this is going to be up. I'm also going to try to share it to Facebook. So if you have any questions, please just reach out. I would love to answer them specifically on this topic or just Pinterest in general. And I also encourage you, if you're interested in learning more about Pinterest or possibly adding Pinterest as a service to your virtual assistant business, I do have my course coming up called the Pinterest Elective. So this course is going to walk you through everything you need to master your Pinterest, get clients, and even become a Pinterest virtual assistant in just 7 days. I'm going to break it down day by day by day. Will be a different topic. It's going to be super easy for you to follow, bite through and bite-sized information, and you're going to have a business up and running in 7 days with my course. Now, if you are interested in that, you can click on the link in my bio to sign up for the wait list. If you join the wait list, you will get an exclusive price on this that no one else is going to get. It's only going to be available to those on the wait list. You'll be able to join the course before anyone else, and you're also going to get more info on some upcoming training I have on Pinterest that's a lot more in depth. So make sure if you are interested to click the link in my bio, sign up for the waitlist for the Pinterest elective, and of course, any questions on Pinterest, please let me know. Next week, we're going to be diving more into Pinterest again on Monday. So I'll see you then.